the future isn't set in stone.
Here's the theory in a nutshell before cracking it open. A wooden cross is reality, also known as the OG compilation. Its omission implies a necessary sacrifice hasn't been realized.
Bingo.
The re-trilogy is taking place within Singularity.
I told you it was obvious.
The various stamps are prevailing influences that guide Cloud's subconscious mind.
Oh?
The rift in the sky has at minimum twofold symbolism. First, a division between Cloud's conscious and subconscious. Second, a division between the compilation and the re-trilogy. With that, let's jump in. He who controls electricity rules Gaia. With Shinra's expansion from weapons manufacture into electric power, they posit the hypothetical end of the world. A total apocalypse, still yet future, has been determined by the flow of the Vril-esque lifestream fueling Mako Energy's technological innovations to the point of singularity.
A triumph of technology and testament to man's potential.
Nothing but a bunch of lies.
Except that Mako has made people's lives better.
It's made people blind. Blind to the cold, hard truth.
A destined reality that will grant sentience to Genova's collected conscience. An artificial superintelligence manipulating all binary digits, overriding the recorded past and creating the future.
All life shall perish.
Yet I shall remain. I, son of Genova, will at last claim my birthright. My dominion shall reach into infinity. It shall encompass worlds unbound by fate, and histories unwritten.
What, if anything, can counter this looming threat? At this, I'd like to pose a rhetorical question. Is the pen mightier than the sword? What if a sword is able to function as the pen? Gaia's hope in FF7 is represented by a sword.
Perhaps you'd like to say a few words to your sword first?
The iconic Buster Sword. But is this monstrous weapon more than just an instrument of war? Let's look closer at the sword's design implications. There are motherboard circuitry lines imprinted on its face with a nearby cassette tape style slot for materia. The auditory and visual reference of the Buster Sword are depicting a weapon that functions as an electronic input device, writing and recording via technology. Is this the opposing force to the AI-like Genova threat, or will it too be subsumed as the catalyst bringing about singularity? It all depends on who is wielding this weapon to forge the narrative. Obviously, the Buster Sword represents the in-game legacy of Zack and Angeal carried on by Cloud. But just as importantly, it has become a legendary icon associated with Square Enix. The developers are meta-representators of the mind of Cloud as they manifest their own hopes and dreams. So, what am I getting at, and what's the point already, you may ask? These masters of all things video gaming will serve as an analogy as I try to solidify my paused compilation theory.
I offer thee this silent sacrifice.
The entire re-trilogy project is a tremendous undertaking to leave another love letter behind for fans. They heeded our call to see the 1997 classic remade with cutting-edge graphics by utilizing technology that nearly pushes it past the red line into singularity. At our behest, they've worked tirelessly to rewrite the conclusion of the existing compilation and their own legacy via the re-trilogy. Narratively, the logical insertion point to jumpstart the story once more was set up years ago with the On the Way to a Smile novel. The chapter contents of Lifestream Black and White gave wiggle room for a scenario that could integrate back into the original game's events by completing these halted periods of time with the ending. To some, Chapter 18 of Remake forcing us from On the Way to a Smile into the singularity was an abomination. However, I think even the fans with that sentiment are secretly eager for the outcome of these threads that revolve around singularity. It's at this controversial junction point that the entire re-trilogy's culmination for the OG compilation are on hold, juxtaposed to our own weight.
Not yet.
As I have just conveniently tossed out the word intergrade a few times, let's examine its definition. To merge, gradually, one with another through a continuous series of intermediate forms or events. Many would say the word Intergrade was incorporated into the title since Square was providing the game on both PS4 and PS5 platforms, which is true, but in terms of plot, the compilation and retrilogy cannot remain independent works. Intergrade is the idea of merging the outcome of the singularity back onto the OG's ending. The most important scene so far bridging the two occurs at the church. Let's examine the wooden cross during Intergrade's ending when Zack enters a church. Was it an error? Could it be due to outsourced production? I'll argue it's not an error. It's intentional for the story itself. If you have watched any of my stuff, you know I emphasize the importance of trees, specifically the Norse world tree of Yggdrasil in regards to Final Fantasy VII. I suggest that the true, tangible, real world of Gaia is subtly indicated by the presence of this tree. The wood of the tree is used inside the church for a cross, serving as a reminder of a sacrifice for the hope of humanity. Our Christian hope in Jesus Christ, who died on a tree as our Savior, serves as an archetype for Odin, who hanged himself upon the tree of Yggdrasil. Not to digress, but it's also why the Whispers, who are indicators of the spiritual realms warring, have a tree bark veneer. So, for all intents and purposes, anytime we see the wooden cross, we need to think it as Gaia's actual reality. It has been pointed out that there is a notable lack of a cross in all the new game entries and spin-offs, suggesting their current non-canonicity. The lack of a cross conveys the message that a necessary sacrifice has not yet been realized that allows hope to be brought unto Gaia. Specifically, it simply means that Zack's identity and even his death hasn't been recognized in Cloud's subconscious. The Zack we see at the end of Intergrade is the reality on Gaia, as he has died and continued his trek to see Aerith in the livestream per the normal course of the events of OG into Advent Children. If you were to look for physical events that were occurring during this livestream scene at the church, they would be subsequent to the Sector 7 plate drop and as the party leaves Midgar. You could think of this Intergrade scene for all intents and purposes as an omitted or lost scene from 1997. It had to be made visible to us as the players to indicate the fork in the road at Destiny's crossroads once we chose to engage in the singularity of the retrilogy.
Aerith?
I'm not saying that the presence of Zack we see in Rebirth is actually alive either, because I don't think he is.
What in the hell is going on?
The cross's omission with Zack hints that we are inside the singularity of Cloud's mind for all the events within the retrilogy. Yes, even the non-interlude chapters. Yeah, I know it's an unpopular idea, and if it was stated directly by developers, it would ruin everyone's perspective of the project. It has the stigma of, it's all a dream, or it's all in the live stream. However, they did still kind of allude to that by pointing us toward their Eastern philosophies.
We could call it a homecoming. Or homeward bound, maybe? Let's just call it a dream.
Anyhow, stick with me please as I'll try to explain the cross along with the idea of Yogakara and Cloud's subconscious. We know the singularity affects past, present, and future. All of the possibilities of Stamp are intangible spiritual influences upon Cloud's subconscious that affect the tangible world awaiting its fate. Eventually, his mind will, for lack of a better word, unpause the OG's ending, bringing both it and the wooden cross back to the forefront of Gaia's reality, leading up to Advent Children. If we stay tunnel visioned on the retrilogy, we're oblivious to this possibility that none of the stamps depict reality.
Behold, the true nature of reality.
Beagle Stamp was the first one we experienced in Remake before entering the singularity. This stamp became what we then associated to FF7's real status quo, with all other stamps as only potentials. Even this one doesn't have the wooden cross all the way back into Ever Crisis. And due to the fact that singularity connects to all points in time, Beagle Stamp is now the one that Sephiroth is closest to controlling and using to reunite the remaining stamps as fragmented worlds.
The planet encompasses a multitude of worlds, ever unfolding. Some quickly perish, while others endure. Yet even the most resilient worlds are doomed to fade.
What do you mean?
My fragmented mother. These errant worlds, All shall be one again,
The reunion.
all made whole forever.
There's no such thing as forever.
Ah, but there will be.
No. You're wrong.
To put it back in a nutshell, basically Sephiroth needs to control Cloud's conscious and subconscious. It's an idea so clever that even the developers were gaslighting us in the trailers by stating what is fact and what is fiction. I feel that this is confirmed by the persistent lack of the wooden cross that is pending decisions that have yet to be fully played out, manifesting his reality back into the OG. The term interlude's own definition also gives weight to this idea. As I've mentioned, the OG ending was paused before Cloud's mental struggle could be resolved. The Sky Rift now depicts not only the split-brainedness of Cloud's mind, but our own mind assuming the role of Cloud. The entire re-trilogy process becomes a subconscious experience that we weigh against our predilections of 1997. Here are a couple additional clues as to why everything in the re-trilogy is within a technological singularity. Most obvious is the VR segment during Remake at Cosmos Theater. It eerily foreshadowed the future, and then its prophecy was partially fulfilled as Cloud makes an AI-influenced choice to enter the singularity. Another example during Rebirth is the radio broadcast heard in Calm about tornado damage in Midgar. However, we, assuming the role of Cloud, do not see any current damage to the Shinra Tower. The other, damaged Midgar, is an indication of a pending world in Cloud's subconscious. Due to technological singularity, it makes sense that this potentiality exists. We hear the radio transmission because, well, it uses technology and, singularity, so it can overwrite ones and zeros as it wills. Or, as we know, Cloud has unlimited potential, so his brain could have just had some data leakage from its subconscious into his conscious.
Sorry, man. Feel like I failed you. Sorry, man. Feel like I failed you.
Not bad, kid. Not bad, kid.
To conclude, I'd leave it at this. The physical universe is represented by wood. Everything is occurring inside singularity to rewrite the apocalyptic future of the original game's ending.
We can change it. Make it right.
There are plenty of occultic ways to view the nature of the project, with Yogacara and Collective Unconscious as a developer's choice. I suggested a simpler yet still wicked one in a previous video, specifically the idea of as within, so without, as above, so below. These philosophies all are subliminally trying to indoctrinate via the game's messaging that subconsciousness and the mind can manifest reality. As much as I enjoy FF7, you can probably tell I have a love-hate relationship with its theme's allurement. But once again, I'd be amiss if I didn't tell you that all of these world views are diametrically opposed to the Bible and true salvation. The way of the cross of Jesus is the only hope for a homecoming. Stay tuned for the next video regarding divine sanctuaries, and thanks for watching.